I forgot. I keep on forgetting where I do the point.
It's must win. But coach
It's not the same without coach. Coach is really competitive.
Yeah.
He really lifts his game.
Broncos at Ravens. Ravens favored by almost 10, trying to bounce back from last week's loss to the Browns. Here's a look at the Ravens' offense versus Denver's defense.
Wow.
Brew, is this a must-win for the Ravens?
Well, you showed it. It is strength on strength. I mean, the Ravens obviously have a great offense, but Denver's got a great defense this year.
Do they, though?
I think they do. I think they're like third. Well, you see it, points allowed per game. They're giving up, what, 15 points a game?
Little tomato
I think it's
well, you go.
No,
Tampa Bay stomped Tampa Bay when Tampa Bay was healthy.
But that's
Tampa
the only
was a
one.
good one.
The other one is the
They
Jets, Vegas, New Orleans, and Carolina.
But they stomped New Orleans. Again, if you play a tomato can, don't edge them. Don't struggle with them. Stomp them. And that's what they did. So I'm just saying they're legit. But yeah, it's a must win. Because as I said earlier, Baltimore has Cincinnati and Pittsburgh coming up. We know how tough the AFC North games are going to be. They may lose to a team that's inferior to them, as they did last week with Cleveland, just because of the in-division rivalry. And you're coming off a loss. All right, this could be a real, they were just riding high a few weeks ago, maybe reading their press clippings, an old school, lingo, maybe a little too much of that. So coming off a loss, I think they want to get right, and I think they do against Denver, but definitely a must win.
You look like something, you had a light bulb moment while Blue
I've been
was-
having a conversation with the audience, separate from the show.
What is it?
When you guys, every time you mention they've got Cincinnati coming up, I remind the audience, I go, Cincinnati's not good.
Well,
then
they only beat them by
Then the Ravens
3.
might not be good because they did play Cincinnati and it went to overtime.
Well, the Chiefs struggled with Cincinnati, too.
I think
Cincinnati plays up
Cincinnati's
to
good.
its
I'm not trying to argue about Cincinnati right now. Isn't Cincinnati in this segment? Can't we wait for your hot Cincinnati takes?
I didn't bring it up. I was whispering to the audience.
Okay.
You brought it up.
Baltimore has not earned the no way they lose this game benefit of the doubt
That's
this
true.
year. And if they lose this game, a lot of your anti-Cincinnati arguments will apply to this team. A lot of them. I know you think the Raiders are about to beat the Bengals. That's fine. But if I think the Bengals are going to win that game, if one team's 4-5 and one team's 5-4, you're not going to be able to rest on the standings as a reason why one team's a legitimate contender and one team it's embarrassing to discuss them as a contender. Again, I don't think the Broncos are as good as their schedule, and I actually agree with you. Their defensive ranks say they have a top 4 defense in football. I think it's probably closer to 9 or 10. I think it's a good but not a great defense that hasn't had to play top flight quarterbacks. But I do not think that you can take the Ravens as a legitimate Super Bowl contender if they lose in the first half of the season to the Raiders, to the Browns, and to the Broncos. Flatly, I don't.
All right. I don't think that's totally fair at all because the Chiefs last season lost to the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Eagles, who Nick literally said was one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. That was his exact words, that the Philadelphia Eagles were like bottom 3 worst team in the NFL last year. So I don't see how we can then put that logic. Listen, I think the Ravens do need to win this game. And I do agree that in order for them to prove that they are a true Super Bowl contender, that they don't drop these types of games and certainly don't drop multiple games like this. But I don't see it if they lose where it's just proof that they are not a Super Bowl contender, that they can't. It just would mean to me that they really need to figure some stuff out, right? But it's not to say that I'm just going to all of a sudden doubt the Ravens' ability to figure this out or doubt Lamar Jackson's ability to overcome adversity. That's what, that's just not where I'm going to go with this. But, like Brew kind of always talks about, the vibe check and all of this, yeah, I think it is a must win from that perspective. From a practical perspective, no, but from like a vibe, locker room, right, to try to settle this all down, a win is definitely needed. A convincing win as well, right? If they eke out a win, not the best thing. But at the same time, the Broncos, the Broncos are such a fascinating team because this is when I made a video about the Broncos a couple days ago and I was talking about this game, and because Colin Cowherd said that he thinks that they're going to get blown out, the Broncos, that is, that I said, this is a fascinating barometer game for the Broncos to figure out who are they, because like Nick is saying, I don't really think that they're a top 3 defense. They haven't really played a lot of great teams, and so it's like, so here we're going to see them now play arguably the best offense in the NFL right now, one of the best offenses in the NFL. So we're going to figure out, is the Broncos defense for real? Can it slow down Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? If that proves to be true, that they can, that's not necessarily an indictment on the Baltimore Ravens. Like, if the Baltimore Ravens end up losing this game, or it's a lot closer than other people think it will be, that tells us more about the Denver Broncos than about the Baltimore Ravens. That just shows us, hey, the Denver Broncos are significantly better than people realize, and not so much that the Baltimore Ravens are significantly worse than we realize. Like, that's the difference from my viewpoint. If the Ravens get blown out and they lose by 14, okay, that's a different conversation, of course, right? But that's, I don't know many people that are legitimately predicting that, quite frankly. And I think, as good as Bo Nix has been for these last few weeks, if this defense, if Harbaugh and company can't make a rookie quarterback uncomfortable, I don't think that would be the best case situation. That wouldn't be a great representation for the Baltimore Ravens, right? Because the marks of a well-coached defense is to be able to make young quarterbacks uncomfortable, right? We see that again and again and again with the top defensive coaches in the NFL. Harbaugh is supposed to be one of them, right? Obviously, the defense has not been what it has been in the past. Can you start to kind of cut your teeth going up against a rookie like this? You weren't necessarily able to do it against Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is having a very special year, so that's not the easiest thing to do. But Bo Nix, again, he has been hot. He's been, I think he was like offensive rookie of the month, this past month. So he's obviously been playing really well. But again, the whole argument is he's doing it against bad teams, et cetera, et cetera. Whether that's true or not doesn't matter. I'm just looking at it through the lens of Ravens. It's like, if you are good, if you are going to improve, if you are going to kind of overcome the adversity that you have already faced, losing to the Raiders, losing to the Browns, what do you do here, right? Can you prove that your offense is more potent than this defense? Can you prove to everyone the Broncos defense is a little overinflated? Or you know what? It actually is a really great defense, but you know what? We got a better offense. Come see us. And same thing defensively. Like, yeah, our defense is not as good as it was in the past, but stop acting like anyone can do anything they want on it. We're still legit. We still, you better bring your A game. And no rookie's going to come into our house and just unload for 320 yards, 3 touchdowns, right? And a 75% completion percentage. Get out of here. Miss me with that nonsense. So it's going to be an interesting game, honestly. I really can't emphasize this enough. If the game ends up being closer than a lot of people realize, or the Broncos even come away with the win, it's not an indictment on the Ravens. It's just showing us actually that the Broncos are significantly better. Now, it's kind of asymmetrical to a degree, because if the Ravens win this game, and if they win it convincingly, it's going to be interesting, because then you could say, and I know a lot of Ravens fans will get mad about it, we could say, well, just the Broncos, their stock is a little inflated. It wasn't that big of a win, right? So and I know Ravens fans are like, what the heck? They've been a good team. So it's like, it's tough. The Ravens have different standards at this point, right? Especially because they lost to some of those lower level teams. It kind of hurts them in that regard. And they beat the Bills, which is great. They beat the Cowboys. Who cares? Cowboys are hardly that good right now. But they lost to the Chiefs. They beat the Bengals. There still seems to be question mark how good are the Bengals or not, right? So unfortunately, because of the way how the season has unfolded for the Ravens, it's just a little bit messier to figure out who they are as a team. I think the Ravens are a great team. They're just not buttoned up right now, and they're not super consistent. But I do believe that the Ravens, like anyone, if you're a Chiefs fan or a Texans fan or a Broncos fan or whoever fan, if you think that you want to face Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, or you would be excited to face them in the playoffs, then you are greatly confused. You are greatly confused. who this team is, right? Who they have from especially offensively, who Lamar Jackson is, who Derrick Henry is, right? You are greatly confused. So win or lose, not the most concerned about it outside of like a legitimate, like they just look bad and the Broncos win 21-10 or something. Then you would be like, what is going on with the Ravens? Not seeing that happen, but we will see. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Baltimore Ravens? Do you think that this is a must-win from both a practical standpoint, from just a Super Bowl contender type evaluation standpoint? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.